places listed by Diaz have been steeped in tradition. Golf is not a sport that readily embraces the new, but reserves judgment and comes to decisions in its own sweet time. Was it possible that a pair of brand new courses in Bandon, Oregon, could eclipse the time-honored favorites? Yes, it was. Visitors to Bandon experienced a classic coup de foudre, a blow of passion, love at first sight. This was the kind of golf of which people dreamed, golf that lifted the spirits and brought a renewal of gusto and energy. At the rim of the continent, against the colossal sweep of the Pacific Ocean, people seemed to rediscover the game and to remember what made it so majestic and exhilarating. Bandon hadn't been the site of any notable tournament, nor was it associated with any of the big names in golf. It had won its place by a kind of popular acclamation. Not to stretch the point too far, but Bandon seemed almost like a shrine where something miraculous was said to have occurred, a remote place to which pilgrims found their way, hoping to partake of the mystery, hoping to breathe in the sacred energy. The Bandon story kept evolving, and so did the place. A third course, Bandon Trails, designed by Ben Crenshaw and Bill Corr, opened in 2005. A few of its holes were located in high dunes, but most of the golf course was routed through meadow and dense forest, opening new vistas and revealing new dimensions of the property. Golf writers hailed Bandon Trails as another treasure, and Bandon Dunes moved into an even more exalted category. The story still wasn't over. The buzz that had surrounded Bandon Dunes for a decade kicked up a notch with the announcement of a fourth course, Old Macdonald, opening in 2010. The course was conceived as a tribute to Charles Blair Macdonald, and the name, with its playful twist, served notice that the course would be inspired by classic principles of design, but would not be a solemn lecture in golf history. It also signaled that Mike Keiser was willing to vary the pattern. Instead of turning to a designer for an original course, he'd named Tom Doak and Jim Urbina as co-designers of Old Mac and complimented them with an advisory panel. The goal was still an original course, but this was a much more collaborative arrangement, and since the idea had originated with him, Mike Keiser had edged a little more into the spotlight. Golfers are recharged at Bandon. In the course of writing this book, I spent a lot of time there, and I saw how many people came up to Mike Keiser to thank him for building the golf courses. They were strangers, but they wanted to let him know how much they'd enjoyed playing at Bandon Dunes, and they wanted to express more than mere enjoyment. They wanted him to know that their experience had mattered. Mike responds to these strangers sincerely and graciously, but he always seems slightly embarrassed to be recognized as the owner of the place. He doesn't have an ounce of pretension in him. He is the visionary who had the imagination, the patience, the money, the sheer guts to bring this place into being, and he knows what he has created. He doesn't crow about it, but his feelings do show themselves every now and then, as they did one day at Bandon Dunes while Mike played around with an old friend. I was tagging along, and at the 12th hole, a par 3, we had to wait for a few minutes while the group ahead played out. The ocean was glittering in the afternoon sun, and Mike was talking about the storms that lashed this stretch of the coast in the 1850s. The huge waves had washed away the deposits of gold-laden black sands on the local beaches, putting an end to Bandon's brief gold rush. "They say we're due for more big storms," Mike said. "Sometimes I wonder how much of the golf course it might take away. That would be a tough call for a golf course owner, wouldn't it? Suppose you were offered a choice. You could save your golf course or your life. Which would you do?" Then he gave a small, self-conscious laugh, knowing he'd revealed the depth of his attachment to the place he'd created. Mike, the practical businessman, had said in so many words that Bandon Dunes was his legacy. This book is about Mike Keiser and his pursuit of a dream. It is about the golf courses at Bandon and the men who designed and built them, men who had dreams of their own, dreams that converged with Mike's. It is about the way that these golf courses built on a remote stretch of the Pacific coast were able to capture golf's ancient magic. Part 1. A Man with a Program. 1. Soul work. Deep down, I wanted to build something that would last. I wanted to build a golf course that people would be